What is up, guys? This is Jesse with Initiate Motorsports. Today we are going to do part 2 of porting out your intake manifold and plenums. So today we are working on the lower plenum off a DE. This also fits the rev up models. Essentially we're going to be porting these out. Now typically what people do, I am not doing this today, but this will give you an idea of how to do it. So typically what people do when they are porting out these lower manifolds is they will put the gasket down on it, and if you'll notice inside of the gasket you'll see some of the intake manifold. So what a lot of guys do is they end up drawing a line in there with a Sharpie or something and then port it out to the same size as the gasket. That's called a gasket match, and it allows more airflow to get into your engine, obviously adding power. Now the amount of power they say it adds is a little bit hard to tell, so a lot of guys will say you add 10 to 15 horsepower from a ported manifold. Doing it yourself, you're probably not going to get as much. Even if you got 5 to 10 horsepower, all it's going to cost you is a boatload of these flap wheels. So this is a Dremel I bought from Harbor Freight. It was like 30 bucks for the Dremel and then another 60 for a 5 amp hour battery. I ordered these on Amazon. It's a 10 pack of the little flap wheels for the Dremel, 80 grit. And you can buy the Dremel brand flap wheels from Home Depot, Lowe's, that kind of stuff, but they're like $8 per flap wheel, where this whole pack is like $7. I have come to find that the Dremel brand lasts a heck of a lot longer, but still they only last about 4 to 5 of these long, so it's still a better deal to order the Amazon ones. It's a little bit of a pain always stopping to take off the old one and put on the new one, but you get the point. But today, for this customer, I'm actually not going to be doing a full gasket match. Now, looking at this intake manifold, for whatever reason, there's not a whole lot of material. Usually, these have a lot more material in there to cut out. This one's not too bad. It's almost completely gasket matched already. But we're just going to be polishing the interiors of them, allow airflow to get through a little better. You can also see it's super dirty down there, so we're going to be cleaning it up real nice and good. Once we do this side, we're going to do the bottoms, and then we're going to smooth out the gasket face. And at the very end, we're going to throw some ceramic paint in this aluminum color on there, which will help keep intake air temperatures down. So a couple of things I recommend is, number one, you're going to want a respirator of some sort. This Dremel kicks up a boatload of aluminum shavings up in the air that you end up breathing in. You can kind of see it there. Also some gloves, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get started. And that right there is why you got to be a little bit careful with these, because it'll just catch somewhere and bend real quick. You can also stick it farther down in there. I personally don't care for it, but you can see it also rips some chunks off of one side. So yeah, first step is done. I just ported out all of these cylinder holes right here. You can kind of see down in there. So now I just got to flip it over and start on this side, which that's not much. There is a small, I don't know if I can show it to you, but there's a little lip right there. I like to get rid of that. Open these up just a little bit. You can kind of see where the line from the gasket goes right there. So I'll kind of open it up a little bit. I'm going to rip this off of there, and yeah, then I'll start cleaning it for paint. So yeah, I've got all the porting done now. So as you can see, hit all these, sanded the gasket face smooth carefully, don't forget that part. All right, so as you can see here, we got part 1 with the lower plenum, part 2 with the lower manifold, and part 3 with the upper plenum. So all 3 of these are done and ready to go. So the next step before we paint, we really got to deep clean these. I have a little baby bottle cleaner that I use, and it sticks in there. It's got bristles on it, so it's gets it real clean. I use Dawn dish soap and really try to focus on the exterior of these parts as well, because they're super dirty and oily. You want to get them nice and clean before you send some primer on them. So we are in my bathroom. We're going to go ahead and lay some Dawn dish soap all over these guys with some hot water. Like I said, I use this little brush for baby bottles because it has this little piece down here. It has this little piece that hooks in underneath. This thing is good for getting into all those thread holes, and then this side just good for the bigger cylinder holes. Gives you a lot of versatility to get them cleaned out. So we'll start cleaning them now. These are about as clean as I usually get them. So one, you could go back through and actually wire brush the top, which I might do. So there's a good chance I hit it with the wire brush, and then the lower manifold obviously needs a couple of the inner spots hit. That always does. So I'm gonna hit these spots real quick and just get them finished up, and I always spray brake clean last just to get any left materials off of there. So we'll start working on that real quick here. So what I use for this is I have a wire brush end for my impact, and you'll just see dust come flying off of this thing. It works pretty good. So we got all of these parts hosed off with brake cleaner. You can see now down in the little cracks there's not a bunch of dirt. So this should be clean enough to send some paint on it. So yeah, I'm gonna start taping them up now. Also, if you guys are wondering, these little knives, you can get them at Home Depot or Lowe's. They're like $6, come with a bunch of extra blades. Yeah, it's how I cut these to be so precise so then I can just spray down on it. All right, guys, so yeah, I just wanted to go over this. So this is a fully taped off lower manifold. So as you can see, taped off the bottom sides of it. I went in and stuffed these 4 holes. These are where the fuel rail mounts. Stuff those 4 holes with tape just so we don't get any paint down in there and make it difficult to tie into anything. And an even more important spot is right here, these 6 holes. And those are for the injectors. They're a tight fit already. You really want to make sure something is in those holes before you lay paint on it. Also, you want to put some tape there where the lower plenum mounts to. Alright guys, we are back today, and today I'm going to be laying some paint down. I did tell the guy I would paint his throttle body for free just to hook him up with it, but you can see everything is all taped up and ready to go. So we are going to first lay some primer down. For primer, I like VHT brand primer. This seems to work really, really well. And then I've always had a lot of luck with Duplicolor's caliper paint. I know it's caliper and not engine, but it does not lay nearly as good as the caliper paint does. The caliper paint just leaves a really nice smooth finish, almost like it was powder coated, so that's what I like. So I'm gonna get these painted up, so let's get started. Alright, so that was the first coat with the flame-proof primer. But with the lower manifold, usually what I do is wait for it to semi-dry. Once it's dry, I'll flip it upside down and actually spray into the crack underneath, just to make sure that's covered. But as you can see there, just on the outside, nice thick coat, not too much, not overdoing it, but just enough to give it a really nice coating with the primer. Yeah, we will move on for the time being. So I went and flipped that thing over, finished it up. I only really lay 1 coat of primer on these guys. So we are gonna throw some of this aluminum colored Duplicolor caliper paint on the lower plenum and the lower manifold. So we're painting these 2 silver. So we'll get started with this. Remember to shake the ever-loving shit out of your can. Like I got them both pretty good. You can see it's a pretty good looking aluminum, honestly, and like I said, the way it dries is really impressive. It's so thick that it almost reminds me of a powder coat. Really recommend this paint. Alright, so as you can see, these are pretty much dry at this point. I really like that color too. It looks almost factory, but a little cleaned up. Kind of hard to see. Maybe you get a better view on it from this angle. So yeah, so we got these done. We're gonna set these off. I always give it overnight to let them dry before I go ripping tape off, because you don't want to rip it off and then kind of peel some of the tape off with it. So I'm just gonna set these over to the side, let them dry overnight. So I just finished getting everything painted. I always, at the end, look them over pretty in depth, and what I'll do is I'll spray some of the spray paint into cap and use a teeny tiny little paintbrush and just hit spots that kind of got jacked up. It's very common for that to happen. But yeah, and then once I'm done, I rip the tape off, and the tape leaves a little bit of paint here on the rim. So I'll just go by with some sandpaper and just clean it all up. make it look nice and pretty. That is the end of the video, guys. I really appreciate it. If you can please like the video, please comment on the video. Please let me know if you guys have ever done this. If there's anything you did differently, I'd like to know. And please subscribe to the video. Really makes a huge difference for me. Super small, any subscriber counts. Really appreciate you guys watching the video. I'll see you next time. Thanks.